Hi guys, Zelp here. Because of the recent event, I have a request to talk about the Pacifism Defect. So let's talk about that. Before we start, I won't be going too detailed with the backstory or the personal and clan rewards from participating in this event, which you can easily read about at Wiki. So instead, I want to explain the mission and talk about strategies from my experience of playing it. The whole idea of the mission is that there are grenier survivals that wants to reach the escape pod. They take damage from breathing the air in this hazardous environment and can only recover at the mat tower labeled A, B, and C. These mat towers also requires to be maintained by feeding it power cells. You can get the power cells from killing certain enemies, just like the excavator in excavation missions. There's a timer before each wave of survivors were to come out, and you can rush them out sooner by activating a panel near the first mat tower that they will encounter. At the start of the first two waves, there will only be one mat tower, which is mat tower A. Your job is to escort nearby survivors to checkpoint A and then again to the escape pod. On the third wave, there will be a mat tower B, and survivors will always head to the checkpoint B first and then to checkpoint A and then finally to the escape pod. Make sure that you're there along the path to ensure the safety of those survivors. After the fourth wave, there will be another mat tower, which is mat tower C, and this time another group of survivors will appear, which will again always pass through checkpoint C and then A before heading to the escape pod. In early game or low level missions, for example part 1 or part 2 of the event, you can actually do this mission efficiently by following this strategy. Player 1 and player 2 should stay with the mat tower A, one keeping it filled and the other to escort the survivors from point A to the escape pod. Their roles can be interchanged depending on the situation. For example, if there is another group of survivors that needs escorting while one is still being escorted, the player that was filling the mat tower can now start doing the escorting while the other can continue to fill the mat tower when he is done. The third player should escort the survivors from point B to A and hand them over to the first two players, then go back to fill the mat tower B. Player 4 is the same but focused on the mat tower C. Now the reason why this is a good strategy is because everyone only has to take care of a small area instead of running up and down from one end to the other end of the map, and this is kinda how the production line works. The third and fourth player will also be really near to the panel to rush the survivors out immediately once the previous wave of survivors is cleared, speeding up the process. But this method becomes dangerous at later games or higher level missions like the part 3 of this event, simply because there are stronger and a lot more enemies than before, and any one player will have trouble taking care of a group of survivors. At this point, the choice of Warframe is important, and the player should split into two groups. Each group should have their own healing Warframe like the Trinity and a crowd control or a damage dealing Warframe to clear and disable enemies along the way. Trinity's role now is to keep the survivors alive and provide energy to her partner, and the partner's role is to ensure safe passage. Each group will need to escort their own group of survivors from the starting of their encounter to the end, which is the escape pod's location. At this point, maintaining the mat towers are not as useful, especially with a good spammable trinity. There will be times when both groups of survivors will reach mat tower A at the same time, in which all members should work together and keep everyone safe. There can also be times when one of the survivors is left behind. During these cases, you will have to make a decision to let it die or to break formation and try to escort him. Take note that the next wave of survivors that uses the same path will not spawn until either all current survivors reaches the escape pod or when all remaining survivors of that group is dead. I hope this video helps you in some ways, especially if you haven't done the event before. I believe that the event will end in less than a week, and I hope that everyone gets the reward that they want without spending too much time on it. Subscribe to me for more future videos, and if you know of a great way to make this mission grinding any easier, please share with us at the comment section below. Once again, this is Selp wishing you a pleasant day, Tenno. Bye bye.